In the sport of Formula One, there's no lack of rivalries and battles between drivers. Some of the biggest crashes and meltdowns have been caused by fellow drivers taking things too far on and off the track. Let's dive in and check out some of the biggest mistakes drivers have blamed their teammates and rivals for. Valtteri Bottas and George Russell have at it. After accusing Valtteri Bottas of creating their massive Emilia-Romagna GP accident with a highly hazardous maneuver, George Russell inquired if he was attempting to kill them both, despite the Mercedes driver insisting that the incident was entirely Russell's fault. Russell and Bottas collided at high speeds during a dramatic Imola race, and the Williams vehicle crashing into the Mercedes after losing control during an overtaking attempt into the first chicane. The wet-dry race, which was finally won by Max Verstappen, was red flagged after lap 32 due to the massive quantity of debris. Russell, a Mercedes-affiliated driver who is expected to have a place in the future, went over to confront Bottas while the Finnish driver was still in the vehicle after the incident, raising his middle finger back at him. The accident was reviewed by stewards, who determined that it was a racing event because neither vehicle made any erroneous maneuvers. Bottas has always left at least a full car width to the right, according to them. Russell and Bottas had both blamed the other for causing the accident before the stewards had cleared them of any guilt. Russell, the highly rated young British driver, was perhaps on track for his first points as a Williams driver before attempting the pass on Bottas, and he told Sky F1 after the race about the situation from his perspective. After qualifying ninth and dropping places on the opening lap in a Mercedes vehicle that teammate Lewis Hamilton went on to finish second in, Bottas was out of position for the whole 32 laps of the Imola race. Mick Schumacher and Nikita Mazepin. It takes two to tango. In qualifying at Zandvoort, Nikita Mazepin was enraged with teammate Mick Schumacher, believing the German had disobeyed an agreement to be the second vehicle on track for their hot lap runs. On the run to the last set of turns, Schumacher passed Mazepin, and as the Russian attempted to reclaim his position, he collided with Sebastian Vettel. Mazepin accused Schumacher of attempting to deliberately damage his qualifying attempts after the race. However, after assisting in the de-escalation of the situation later on Saturday afternoon, Steiner stated that the dispute was sparked by challenges in controlling tire temperature rather than anything else. After explaining the scenario to Mazepin after qualifying, Steiner stated the Russian was more accepting of Schumacher's plight. Lewis Hamilton blaming his team for a blunder. Surprised? Lewis Hamilton claimed that a mistake made by his Mercedes team cost him victory in the thrilling Hungarian Grand Prix. On an unforgettable afternoon, Alpine driver Esteban Ocon claimed one of the sport's most unlikely victories in recent memory, with Hamilton delivering a brilliant comeback drive from last to third, later upgraded to second following Sebastian Vettel's disqualification for a violation of fuel regulations. 30 minutes before the marathon, a rain shower put in motion an almost amazing chain of events. At the start, Valtteri Bottas, Hamilton's Mercedes teammate, adopted the role of the hunger-roaring bowling ball. Lando Norris of McLaren, Sergio Perez of Red Bull, and, most importantly, Max Verstappen of Red Bull were Bottas's helpless skittles. It was the ideal strike for pole sitter Hamilton, who not only survived the first corner chaos, but also saw his title challenger slide from 2nd to 13th. The race was red flagged for 25 minutes to remove the debris, and while Red Bull scrambled to patch up Verstappen's damaged machine with duct tape, and Perez and Bottas were forced to withdraw, Hamilton appeared to be on his way to the win. However, the sun came out during the wait, and the circuit was almost completely dry. The 14 remaining drivers, with the exception of Hamilton, pulled in for sticky rubber at the end of the formation lap. Because of Mercedes' strange choice, the 7-time world champion was the only one to take his place on the grid for the strangest of restarts. To be fair to Mercedes, an early pit stop for new tires sparked his comeback and sent him ahead of the struggling Verstappen. After a brilliant move around the outside of Pierre Gasly at the high-speed turn 4, and then 5th when he passed Gasly's AlphaTauri teammate Yuki Tsunoda. Hamilton got up to 4th after Fernando Alonso pitted, but on aging rubber, he was running out of steam, so Mercedes took a chance and brought him in for his third stop of the afternoon. Hamilton came from the pits 25 seconds behind Ocon, but more than 3 seconds ahead of the Frenchman with 22 of the 70 laps remaining. Hamilton was suddenly within 10 seconds of winning his 100th race, and it would undoubtedly be one of his best. Alonso, on the other hand, had a different plan. On circuits 55 and 57, the world champions went wheel to wheel, and on lap 63, they came within millimeters of colliding on the uphill drag to turn 4. With 5 circuits remaining, Alonso gave Hamilton an opportunity at the first corner, and the Mercedes driver did not require a second invitation. Hamilton passed Ferrari's Carlos Sainz at the first curve on lap 67 to take third, finishing less than 3 seconds behind Ocon. Ricciardo versus Verstappen, the running of the bulls. The Azerbaijan Grand Prix was the third race in a row to provide a thrilling 2 hours of Formula One action. The fast speeds, heavy gusts, and the wall-lined course promised lots of turmoil and excitement, and they didn't disappoint. The World Championship battle between Ferrari and Mercedes is well and truly underway, and it's a great tragedy that Bottas' race ended with that puncture so close to the finish line, since we would have otherwise been left with the top 3 drivers separated by only 3 points. On the racing tracks, Ferrari appeared to be in better form than Mercedes, and even Even the Red Bulls appeared to be faster than the silver cars. The track temperature was high, in the 30s, and I believe Mercedes struggled to find the appropriate balance between the front and back axles, similar to Bahrain, when they couldn't get the fronts to function for them or overheated the rear tires. The Mercedes drivers can't rely on the front tires and load them up the way they want on a green track on Friday, which exasperates the situation, I believe, because as the weekend develops and the circuit becomes grippier, they become more competitive. Everyone had an opinion. Niki Lauda thought it was 70% Max's fault. Helmut Marko and Christian Horner thought it was a 50-50 split, and there were others who thought it was more Daniel's fault because it was ultimately the car behind that crashed into the car in front, similar to how blame is assigned in car accidents on public roads. Of course, this created the stage for a spectacular finish, as Vettel's overconfident lunge on Bottas on the restart gave Mercedes the lead they needed. On Sunday, I felt terrible for Bottas, as did the rest of the paddock, since he was so unlucky to go over that small piece of debris that caused his puncture. He wasn't quite as strong as Baku as he was in China, qualifying a few tenths behind Lewis, but he was following a completely different strategy than Hamilton, and I believe he would have finished ahead of Hamilton even without the late safety car. Lewis owed Melbourne a win, and his demeanor during and after the race indicated that he recognized he had been fortunate to win. Vettel should have won. Bottas could have won, but the reigning world champ was there to seize the opportunity and take control of the title chase this year. Sergio Perez and Force India have always been strong in Baku, and he once again demonstrated why he is one of the most opportunistic drivers in the sport. Whenever there is low-hanging fruit and the prospect of a podium when the top three teams fall, Perez tends to be first in line to cash in. This is the polar opposite of Nico Hülkenberg, who has been driving wonderfully for Renault for the previous 18 months, but who, once again, missed out on a solid finish due to an uncommon error. The young Monegasque rookie entered Formula One with a lot of hype and great expectations, and despite a number of missteps early in the season, he turned in a fantastic performance. This was genuine pace from Leclerc and the team. He pulled ahead of Stroll and Alonso while holding his own. Formula One has been criticized in recent years for its drivers and their lack of ownership when accidents occur. Some of the best drivers still make mistakes. Let's face it, at the end of the day, they're still only human. The lack of taking responsibility has made fans question their stance on certain drivers and the morals they pretend to uphold. Some believe the sport needs a big shake-up and some rules addressed around drivers and their safety obligations when it comes to other drivers. But at the end of the day, it's a dangerous sport with consequences for every action and reaction. It's a risk-reward thing for most of these drivers, and some are willing to risk it all for the win. Thanks for watching.